He opened my fridge and didn't say anything at first. Just stood there with the door open. It was 5:42 p.m. on a Tuesday, March 7th. Outside, the UPS guy had just left a package on the steps. Inside my fridge, mustard half an onion and an expired yogurt. I made a joke to ease the silence. I was gonna go shopping, but I got lazy. He didn't laugh. He turned slowly. Sis, why are you starving if you've got a pension? I didn't know how to answer that, because the truth would sound stupid out loud. Because I'd have to say my son handles my account now, because I let it happen. I said, "It's fine. I just forgot." He didn't buy it. He took a step back and leaned on the counter. "Forgot you're living on toast and black coffee? Something's off." Right then, the front door creaked open. My son came in still in his work polo, tossing his keys on the table. Saw my brother and grinned. "Oh, hey, Uncle Mike. Didn't know you were coming." Mike didn't move. He just looked at him. My son shrugged and walked to the sink. "Mom's fine. I give all her money to my wife anyway. She handles things better." I stared at the counter. My hands went cold. Mike didn't yell, didn't blink. He just said, "You give her money." My son smirked. "Yeah, it's easier that way." Mike asked easier for who there it was. The question I'd never dared to ask. I could have spoken, could have defended it, but I stood there silent and hated how quiet I'd become. And deep down, I hated that it took someone else to notice. Maybe I should have said something weeks ago, the day I saw the statement with a $2,000 transfer labeled Joint Household Contribution, but I didn't want to seem ungrateful, or cause a fight, or be called difficult. Mike took off his coat slow. "Make me a coffee," he said softer now. "We're gonna talk." I filled the kettle. My hand trembled as the water hit the pot, and the next morning, I finally checked the account myself. I poured the instant coffee into 2 chipped mugs and filled the kettle. My hand shook a little. I blamed the cold. It was 6:12 a.m. March 8th. Mike sat at the table still in the same sweatshirt from the night before. He didn't say anything, just waited. I told him it started with just one thing. Back in August, my son asked if I could help cover the car insurance, $212. "Just this month," he said. "We're stretched thin." I didn't think twice. Then it was $600 for the new tires. Then $900 when they moved apartments and needed to cover the deposit. The amounts weren't huge, but they added up. And then one day, I wasn't even transferring anymore. They had the login. "It's just easier if we manage it for you, Mom," he'd said. Easier for who every first of the month $1,800 in pension went into their joint account. I let it happen. Thought I was helping. I told myself, they'll make sure I'm okay, but I still had to ask for grocery money last week, and it was treated like a favor. Mike said nothing for a long while. Then finally, "Why would they need your account if they're managing fine on their own?" I didn't have an answer. I just stared at the ugly brown tiles on the kitchen floor. Later that morning, I called Darlene, my old co-worker from the nursing home. She'd retired before me. We hadn't spoken in months. She picked up on the second ring. I asked her, "Did you ever let your kids help with your money?" She laughed. "Help? No, they can mow the lawn. That's help." That line sat in my gut the rest of the day, because I knew deep down this wasn't help. This was control. And the worst part, I saw the signs. When they stopped showing me the bills. When my daughter-in-law started saying things like, "We've got your finances handled now." I just didn't want to believe it. I thought if I pushed back, I'd lose time with my grandson. But that night, I opened my laptop and typed into Google, "how to change Social Security direct deposit," just to see. I pulled the drawer open, the one in the hallway cabinet where I kept stamps, light bulbs, and old receipts. It was around 3:40 p.m. on March 9th. I'd just gotten off the phone with Social Security, half an hour on hold, then told to bring ID in person. My head was still buzzing from that hold music when I found the envelope. It was from Capital One. I don't remember ever applying for a Capital One card. Inside a statement. Balance 5924 Doyzentine. Past due. At first I thought it was a mistake, maybe junk mail, but my name and address were printed clear as day. Then I saw the charges: streaming services, baby store orders, meal kits, Lyft rides in a city I hadn't stepped foot in since 2012. The billing address, same as theirs. The card was linked to their apartment. I sat on the stairs. Didn't say a word. Just stared at that envelope. My hands started to sweat. That night, I asked my son, quietly, "Did you ever use my name for anything?" He didn't even flinch. "It's all under control, Mom. We needed a little cushion during the move. And your score's better." I asked if you're paying it off. "Why is it maxed?" He looked annoyed. "Why do you care it's being handled?" Then my daughter-in-law chimed in from the couch. "It's not like we're buying yachts. It's household stuff. For the family. Family. So why did I have to find out by accident? Why wasn't I told, if it's really for all of us, then why hide the statements? The next morning, I visited Darlene again. She was folding laundry when I told her. She paused mid-fold and said, "Honey, you'd be surprised how many good kids know their parents won't press charges." It hit me hard, because she wasn't even shocked. And I felt small, like I'd handed them the keys and now didn't know how to ask for them back. I emailed the bank that afternoon, quietly, just to ask for the original application. March 10th. It was a Thursday. I remember because the grocery flyer had come in the mail and there was a deal on ground beef, $3.49 a pound, at the Safeway on Jackson Street. I circled it with a pen and left the flyer on the counter like I used to when Robert was alive. Little routines. They stay in your body. That evening, around 7:15, I asked for $50. Calmly. I just said, "Hey, I was thinking of picking up a few things tomorrow. Some milk, maybe eggs. Could I have 50? My daughter-in-law didn't even look up from her tablet. "We already got food," she said flat. "You don't need to spend extra." I waited. My son was sitting on the armchair scrolling his phone like it held the key to world peace. He didn't look at me. Not once. Just let the moment pass like I hadn't spoken at all. I didn't push. I just nodded and went back to folding the dish towels. But inside, I sank. It wasn't the money. It was the way they made me feel like I was asking for something wrong, something selfish. I raised that boy. So tell me, how does asking for groceries turn into a burden? If this is really our house like they say, then why do I need permission to buy milk? Later that night, I texted Darlene. She replied 2 minutes later. "You know who loves you by what they notice missing. Did they notice you didn't eat?" I didn't answer. I just looked at the single slice of toast on my plate. No butter, no jam, just dry. That was dinner. I didn't cry. Not that night. I just sat in the kitchen and thought maybe they didn't ignore me because they're cruel. Maybe they ignored me because they're used to me saying yes. But tomorrow, I'd say something else. The barbecue was on April 9th, a Sunday. Warm breeze paper plates, plastic forks. We borrowed 2 folding tables from the neighbors and set them up in the backyard. My son had just cleaned the grill, and my daughter-in-law wore a new floral top. Her mother brought over deviled eggs. Of course she did. I held the baby while they took pictures. I smiled, wiped drool from his chin, pretended nothing was wrong. That part came easy. I'd done it most of my life. Someone handed me a Diet Coke, and I sipped it. Slow listening. They joked about a trip they were planning, Miami maybe. She said something about booking a nicer hotel this time. My son chuckled. "Well, it's all thanks to our budgeting skills." Right, budgeting my pension. I waited until dessert. Then I said it soft like it was nothing. I've been thinking about switching banks. That little branch on Elm is closing, and it's just a hassle now. I said it while slicing watermelon casual. My daughter-in-law turned her head a little too fast. "Wait, switching," she said too lightly. "But all your stuff's set up. You hate hassle." I smiled. "Maybe I'll let the new bank help me with that." Then I offered her a slice like I'd said nothing unusual. Darlene came by to drop off a bowl and leaned close to me when no one was looking. "You're up to something," she whispered. "I can smell it." I didn't answer, just patted her hand. Truth is, I hated faking it. I hated sitting next to her mother while she bragged about how they finally had a system, knowing full well that system was me. And I hated how my own silence let it stretch this far. I should have asked questions the first time money vanished. But I didn't. So now I had to play dumb just long enough for them to underestimate me. My daughter-in-law laughed a little too loud, like she knew something. Or thought she did. It was 2:14 p.m. on a Wednesday, April 12th, when my phone buzzed. I was standing in the kitchen scraping burnt rice out of the pot. One ding. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but I'd just sat down and my knees were bothering me. There it was. A video. 39 seconds. I tapped play without thinking. And suddenly, I was watching my daughter-in-law clear as day laughing over drinks at some patio table. She leaned into the camera, her voice sharp. Old people should hand over everything, she said. They're just eating resources. They don't even know how to log into a bank account. The girls around her cackled. I didn't move for a few seconds. I just stared at her face. Then I checked the message trail. It had been forwarded from her niece, probably by mistake. I know that girl. She works the register at the CVS near Main and Jefferson. I'd given her a ride once years ago when her car broke down. Life loops in odd ways. I saved the video. No edits, no trimming, no comments. Just straight to a private folder and one backup emailed to myself. Later that evening, I called Darlene. I needed to hear a human voice that didn't want something from me. She let out a whistle when I told her. "You sure you're gonna keep playing nice?" she asked. "Because this ain't a misunderstanding." I didn't answer right away. I was still chewing on that phrase, eating resources. Like I was some leaking faucet or a bad investment. And here's the thing, if they believed I was such a burden, why were they holding onto my pension like it was their lifeline? It hit me. Then I'd given too much slack. Too much benefit of the doubt, and I was ashamed. Not because they fooled me, but because I'd silenced my gut for so long hoping things would fix themselves. The video didn't make me angry. It made me clear. Next step, make sure the bank sees what I see. I drove to the storage unit on May 3rd. It was 9:40 a.m., still cool outside. I had the little brass key tucked in my bra. That key hadn't been touched in years, maybe since George passed. Unit B14 across from the soda machine that never worked. I knelt down, turned the lock, opened the safe box, and there it was. Deed to the house. Still in my name. No co-signers, no transfers. My hands weren't shaking this time. I pulled out the folder, flipped through the documents, and snapped photos of each page. Then I went to the library down on 8th, used their printer. Black and white was 10 cents per page. I printed 3 copies. One for me, one for the lawyer, one for just in case. At 2:15 p.m., I called the firm. Darlene had mentioned weeks ago. We help people clean up family messes, she'd said. I didn't need a war, I needed protection. The lawyer's name was Russell Hart. He didn't blink when I told him the short version. "Let them keep talking," he said. "It helps." Just like that. No drama, just facts. That night I had coffee with my brother at the diner off Maple. He still drives that 2006 Chevy Silverado. Same squeaky door. I showed him the deed. He squinted. "You never signed it over." I shook my head. "Good," he said. "Don't. It's weird how you can be scared and clear at the same time." I felt both. Scared I'd waited too long. clear I still had something left that was mine, and ashamed. Not of the situation, but of how many red flags I'd waved off. The name-calling, the silence, the way they'd spoken to me like I was a tenant in my own kitchen. They used my money, my name, my credit, but the deed I kept the pen. They didn't even know that yet. Next, I had to make sure they'd walk right into it with witnesses. I let them speak first. It was May 18th, 11:30 a.m. at the diner off Maple, the one with cracked vinyl booths and burnt coffee. I sat still, notebook open, pen resting on the page like I was waiting for an order. My brother slid into the booth beside me. Across from us, my son and his wife smiled, relaxed. I'd told them a friend was joining someone who might help me organize paperwork. They didn't ask questions. That should have told me everything. They talked easily, too easily. My son leaned back and said it was simpler this way, that I didn't need to worry about bills anymore. His wife nodded, added that she handled the budgeting because she was better with systems. She said it like a compliment to herself. I wrote down what they said, word for word. When you let people talk long enough, they start to perform. I asked one question plain. If you're covering everything, why do I need to ask for grocery money? She laughed it off. He shrugged. That's just how households work. I asked another. If it's family, why wasn't my name on the credit card statement? Silence, then irritation. Why are you nitpicking? He said. We're doing this for you. That's when my friend slid the folder onto the table. Russell didn't raise his voice, didn't look impressed. I'm her attorney, he said calm, and you've been using accounts and credit in her name without authorization. My son's face drained. He went still, like he'd missed a step on the stairs. His wife reached for her. Water knocked it slightly. Laughed too fast. This is ridiculous, she said. We're family. Russell flipped a page. Family doesn't bypass consent. I felt a pinch of shame, then sharp, quick. I should have done this earlier. I was scared of losing my grandson. Scared of being alone. I swallowed it. Fear doesn't pay bills. Paper does. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I closed my notebook and stood. Silence isn't weakness. It's loading. My daughter-in-law reached for her water. Missed. He ran after me in the hallway, sneakers squeaking on that cheap laminate floor. It was 2:47 p.m. time stamped right on the courthouse security footage. Mom? Mom, wait, his voice cracked. I didn't turn around. My lawyer held the elevator. I walked in. Quiet. One step after another. I didn't feel powerful. I didn't feel triumphant. Just hollow. Like someone had scooped something out of me and didn't put anything back. What they lost that day wasn't money. It wasn't a deed. It was the last part of me that still believed they saw me as something other than a wallet. He said we were family, that everything had been temporary, that I should have talked to him first. So I asked, then why didn't you talk to me before rerouting my pension? I looked him in the eye. He blinked, said nothing. My daughter-in-law stayed silent. She always did when she wasn't in control. Downstairs, I saw Russell the lawyer waiting by his Subaru. He opened the door for me. You okay? He asked, not like a script, but like a person who'd seen this before. I shook my head. No, I said. But I'm done pretending I'm not. Back at home, I sat at the kitchen table. The receipt from the grocery store was still there, $38.76. I'd paid it in cash that morning. Funny how small numbers stay in your head when you've been treated like you have none. I thought about the baby, my grandson. He'd cried when I left. Not out of recognition, just confusion. I wondered what story they'd tell him one day, that grandma disappeared, or that grandma took back what was hers. I hate that I still hoped he'd remember the songs I sang, the toast I cut into stars. I hate that part of me waited for him to cry out again. He didn't. Just the sound of a door clicking shut behind me. No one came after. but the elevator hadn't finished its descent yet. I made coffee. 1 mug. No one else home. It was June 2nd, just past 6:30 a.m., the kind of quiet where you can hear the refrigerator click on and off. I stood at the counter and watched the drip slow down, counted the seconds like it mattered. I hadn't done that in a long time. I took the deed out of the folder and wiped the glass frame with my sleeve. It wasn't fancy. Black frame from the hardware store. I hung it above the sink, slightly crooked, then fixed it. There, my name. Clear. Still mine. When I stepped back, I felt smaller for a second. Not proud, just tired. I should have done this years ago. I keep thinking that, and it stings every time. The phone rang while the coffee cooled. It was the bank. Same woman I'd spoken to last week. Your direct deposit change is active, she said. Anything else you need? I almost said sorry, out of habit. Instead, I said no. That felt new. I sat at the table and opened the mail. A notice about the credit card. Balance frozen. Investigation ongoing. I didn't smile. I didn't feel relief. I felt the space where my grandson used to sit, kicking the chair legs. I hate that I still picture him there. I hate that I still wonder if I could have handled it differently, spoken sooner, louder, softer, smarter. I hate that I was afraid of being cut off and let that fear run my life. They said it was for the family. So I asked myself one last time, if it was for the family, why did it start with taking, not asking? If they could pay their own bills, why did they need my name on theirs? Those questions don't need answers anymore. The answers already happened. I don't think I'm the villain. I didn't destroy anyone. I just stopped being the backup plan. I took the first sip. My hand didn't shake.